let's have a relaxing evening tonight, and we'll start off with some candy corn. Is it too early to start enjoying candy corn? And we'll do like a weekend wrap-up chat. Seems like it was a crazy weekend. And I'm still in queen mode. Look, I'm enjoying a teacup. And this time I put tea in my teacup. I don't think I've ever had organic black tea before. Saw this in the pantry. Uncle Lee.com. Huh. So, over the years, I've decided that hot tea tastes better with candy corn than hot coffee. I also have I'm gonna try candy corn and Planters peanuts, and candy corn and pistachios. We have a bag of roasted salted pistachios already shelled, and big bag of beer nut bar mix. I've had for a while. I was disappointed when I got it. I thought it was a jumbo bag of beer nuts, which I love, but I didn't read it correctly. It was beer nut bar mix with a lot of other things. So let's start off with that. It's okay. I would eat it if I was out at a bar and I was in a pinch. I'd eat it, but let's try them pistachios. Maybe I should bring this down a little more. Not bad. You do have to have a taste for pistachio. Not so obviously. It's okay. I specifically saved the peanuts for last, as I think I've done this one before. Candy corn and peanuts. That was my favorite. I think I even did a candy corn and marshmallows one. I'll have to collect all my candy corn videos. Link them below if you're interested. And the ironic whole thing about candy corn, never enjoyed it as a young person, never. It was only as an adult that I enjoyed it. That was interesting. The best price on candy corn I found is Walmart. Over the years, I've even gotten the off-brand of candy corn and been happy with every brand. I know the Brock's is a little bit more expensive, but I think that's all that was available. So, probably won't go that overboard with a Halloween. Probably buy another bag or two of candy corn as like a Halloween gift for my mom and my sister and niece. I'll probably get a bag of those midgies, the Tootsie Roll midgies, Tootsie Roll Pops, and the Blow Pops. And that might be it. We really don't participate in the door-to-door trick-or-treat Halloween tradition anymore. I think I have more fun with you guys in Halloween videos than anything. It's just, I don't know, I'll have to go back and look at my Halloween videos, but this weekend was kind of spooky. It's kind of what made me think of candy corn and Halloween stuff. Was I still don't understand the threat, the nuclear threat that supposedly now is postponed till September 30th. That whole thing is a big confusing ball of wax for me, but to make it a little less stressful, I talked to my daughter about the iodine tablets, which I'm researching more because I want to understand the connection between why do you need iodine tablets in a nuclear fallout. But I think I would just like to have that, a ton of duct tape, and a ton of painter's tape to go around through the whole house and tape every nook and cranny, every door and wall, a window, so we won't get any dust seeping in. Do the best we could do that. Oh yeah, have a lot of water on hand. I just don't see how the world can allow somebody to just keep the world dangling like that. So I thought that was supposed to happen yesterday or something. I was like, he postponed it to the 30th. And then at the same time, I'm more worried about him. The news is saying the biggest recorded storm in history, possibly hurricane or tornado. I've lost track of the names, and if they're actually a tornado or hurricane or soon to be one. I've lost track. And now today they've changed paths. But there's like a lot of things going on this weekend. Did King Charles extend the mourning for the Queen's death to 17 days? Did he extend it another 7 days? I've heard talk that it was supposed to be 10, but for some reason King Charles extended it. So if you know more about that, I'd like to know why. I'm sure he just didn't, like, on a whim, just say, okay, we're going to extend it a week. I don't know if they do things like that or if they can, but well, that's something I know more about. What else? Oh, I should mention to you about my comment section. I've had to hold my comments. Traditionally, if you make a comment, you'll just see it immediately right under my video. But because of these porno people posting their stuff, it's really somewhat distracting for all of us, as a creator, as a viewer, as a commenter. So I hold all comments, so none of them get a chance to go into the comment section. They get reported and deleted. If by any chance you're ever in the comment section of one of my videos and you see, and they come in different languages, all different languages, but when you get to the link in it, you can clearly see it's a porno link. There's an option to report them, remove them, all of the above. Please do so. I've been after YouTube, still no response. They get after us creators if we post questionable videos that's not family friendly. Yet forever and a day, all creators have been complaining about these people posting questionable links in the comment section, and nothing happens. So maybe if there's more of us reporting them, I'll be taken care of. So if you wonder why you post a comment and you don't see it, it's just going through a little review stage, and I have to do it manually, and I just go through and click it and approve it until I see a comment with a link in it. 100% of the time it says bad comments with the bad links. So that's what's going on with my comments. I don't think I ever made mention of it, but I know it is kind of a little disheartening when you have a creator that you've enjoyed for a long while and all of a sudden your comments aren't showing up. Not to worry. Let's see. Refill my teacup here with my refill. Since we're kind of still thinking about the Queen, oops, sorry, I bumped the camera there. You know, it took me such a long while to enjoy videos from other countries with an accent. For me, I think I'm just so immature in so many areas, and that was one of them. And so here I am on YouTube 7 years now, and it doesn't seem to be an issue for me anymore. But I think of how it was a slow process for me to kind of enjoy, like, the European invasion. As a young person, I remember in grammar school and junior high, the Beatles, songs from the Beatles that I enjoyed. Tom Jones was like my heartthrob from a very early age. When I found out that Tom Jones was from Wales, the Beatles were from England, there was such a huge disconnect in my mind, because their songs sounded like they were talking English, English like from the United States. But then when they would talk, especially the Beatles, not so much Tom Jones, could not figure that out. How can they talk one way and sing another way? So anyways, that's how my introduction to accents came in. Like I said, it just hasn't been till the YouTube invasion. Finally, at this stage in my life, it's not an issue. I'm so happy for that, because I remember Benny. There's two Bennys out there. There's the Benny, like, evangelist guy, but I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Benny Hill. I'm pretty sure it's Benny Hill. I remember seeing little clips of his comedy on TV as a young person, thinking, this is not even funny. This is so juvenile and lame. I couldn't understand it. So then decades fly by, and I find that show, I always call it the wrong name. It's the Hyacinth and her husband. That show. And then the other show, as time goes by, the show would come on. I know I'll think of the name of the show after my video's done. It's that show would come on as time goes by. I realized I started enjoying both of them, and I would always be interested in, like, look at how they build their rooms and how tall the ceilings are, and whereas in years past did not enjoy the old. Everything was old, hardly anything was new, which is kind of opposite of here in the United States. And now, as an older person, I love looking upon those old things. I was able to enjoy more of the TV shows, instead of, like, not enjoying the differences, to really relish in them or rewind the show. So I want to see the sidewalk, like, look at their tarnished, broken, crumpled up sidewalk. That reminded me of growing up in the 60s and different things. And although it's kind of just a little self-check, the things. Why did I have an issue with this back then? And do I still have an issue with it? And if so, why? And I'm just happy to see how I've been able to kind of change. Change is hard for me. I prefer the same old thing. Same time, same bad time, same bad channel every day. But the other, we talked about tape and a little iodine tablets. Talked about the comments. Really kind of interesting. Just a crazy weekend. I think the reason I want to talk about it, because sometimes if you share what you're doing or you're thinking, it might help somebody else in their fear. And I realized it got to a point when people were so panicked about a nuclear Russian attack. I finally had to just realize we could just do what we could do with a few things: water, duct tape, and iodine tablets. And then remember that I try to live a faith-based life. If you've watched my channel for a while, you know I was born and raised Catholic, pretty much left Catholicism in the early 80s. I got married with my husband age 21. But I've always had somewhat of a faith-based belief kind of leading and guiding. That's what happened to me this weekend. I pretty much threw all this storing and buying something. This is crazy. I'm going to put a little bit in faith and the keeper of the stars and just do what I can do. And I'll leave it at that. I used to, prior to 1980, I know when people would talk about miracles, I would always, I'd listen and I'd think, really? Did that really happen? Because honest answer is I had nothing in my own life to kind of gauge the validity of what they were saying until I've got 1, 2, 5. I think I have 6 I deem to be miracles in my life. And you just have to know that when you hear what happened to me, you'll know how you'll believe it. But also, have you seen those videos on YouTube, close calls, or I don't know what the name of them are, of the videos are, but it's like a montage of these people, like death just drives right by them, cars or a falling building or different things, and you just can't believe it. And yes, I know it's a 50-50 chance, but again, because of the things that have happened in my life, I've kind of put them all together. And I don't think it could be just a coincidence. I think it was a special effort from Keeper of the Stars to work a miracle in my life. And one I'll tell you that was like a no-brainer for me to know it was a miracle was in the mid to late 80s. Both my girls were in the car seats at the time, small car seats here in the back seat. We had just left our house about a mile or two, not even 2 miles. And there's this area that people would like to cross. It didn't have a signal there at the time. Bigger than beans, there's Grandma and her granddaughter. And they're kind of looking, and the granddaughter darts across the street. Well, I had stopped because I was already nervous seeing this little girl, looking both ways, ready to dart. I just stopped. So, we're here in Southern California. And it had to be later on in the day because the sun, we were driving west, sun's in my eyes. Okay, so she sees that I stopped. Her side of the street had stopped. And there's an island in the middle, and she doesn't even stop in the island. She darts across her 2 lanes on her side, hops on over the island. And as I see her coming, I look in my rearview mirror and sees there's this car who can't see her, I'm guessing because of the sun, and they're not getting ready to stop. And I'm just sitting there helpless, realizing I'm pretty sure I put my head down in my hands. And then I thought, oh my goodness. I'm thinking, like, what's going on? Can't remember if I honked or not. I think I kind of honked. But what ended up happening is that car came up so fast, right up beside me. And within seconds, this is how I know this had to have been a miracle, how that car stopped with no screeching or nothing. The car stopped like nice, gracefully. I don't know how it did going that fast. And the girl jumped in such a way that there was no way a body could physically jump and move in that direction. It had to have been like a jumbo giant hand moving her out in such a way that would even keep her from falling, keep her away from getting hit by the car. I saw that. I didn't see the angelic hand, but I saw the way her body jumped and moved. And there was no way a kid could do that. I can't really explain it, but it was such as if the hand grabbed her up and over, and her body kind of fell back, then came back on her feet, and she went. I know the way I'm explaining it isn't doing any justice, but I know what I saw. That will stay with me forever and a day, so there's that. But then back in the 60s, I've told you this many times about my Charles Manson connection, he was at the Spawn Ranch back in the 60s. And Spawn Ranch was in the middle of the Rocky Peak Pass Road that connected Santa Susana, east side of Simi Valley, to San Fernando Valley. That's all there was. Until later, decades later, they built in the 118 freeway. So finally, my dad took me horseback riding. Well, we go horseback riding there, and our guide was a girl with long blonde hair, a light outfit. I want to say like a peasant smock or whatever kind of was the look. She had the look of one of those Manson girls, like a love child or a flower child, but very normal, nice, respectable, but had a good knowledge of horses. She was our guide. We go out horseback riding. My horse's bridle broke and went weird and got stuck in its ear. Horse just starts jumping and running. The girl rides up fast besides me, grabs the horse. Everything's fine. She kind of jumps off her horse, takes care of the bridle, and that was it. So it was kind of like a double miracle. The fact that I was able to stay on the horse, but like I said, I loved horses, horseback riding, so there was no fear there. She came right in and took care of everything. Okay, so horseback riding was over. We go back and had a really good time. It wasn't till after we find out about the Manson murders. Now, I didn't connect the dots as a young person because I didn't know that much. But as an adult, when I realized that we were there horseback riding at the Spawn Ranch, that could have been one of the Manson gals, that we just could have been there, because this actually did take place. I was 8, 9, or 10 years old, so this was in the late 60s. And the fact that she looked like a Manson gal, as an adult, forever and a day, I look back in that, and I'm so grateful that nothing happened, and always kind of back in my mind, I think and hope and wonder that there was a keeper of the stars, that yet we were in the midst of what ended up to be a terrible hideout for these murdered people. Nothing happened. So that you can teeter back and forth, like, what is a miracle, or is right place, right time, or wrong place, wrong time? Is that just something you put upon your life? Or does someone hold back stuff, even if you are at the wrong place? There's a little miracle that didn't happen. Well, we'll never know. So there's that, and trust me, I'm just so grateful I can talk about it and say that nothing happened. So there's that Manson thing. Then, the grade, I've mentioned the Conejo grade many times. We're here in Ventura County, and to get to LA County, there's this Conejo grade, you go up, and then obviously coming home, there's Conejo grade, you go down, but you do have to be careful. We're all natives here. I think we're able to maneuver the grade fairly well, but if you're a newcomer, you really have to watch your P's and Q's. Okay, we're coming down the grade one afternoon, picking up my daughter from school. We're in a minivan, and we're following a gardener truck or landscaping truck, privately, father and son, so-and-so, doing landscaping. My husband used to always warn me, and I never thought about it. He'd say, get away from this truck, get away. He had such a knowledge of stuff falling off of people's vehicles and creating an incident or an accident. And I never thought of it. I never paid much attention. However, one day, coming down the grade, bigger than beans, I'm in the fast lane, and right as this landscaping truck pulling over to the middle lane, stuff starts falling off his truck. I realized later that the mega screw and bolt that was holding his spare tire on to his truck, that came out. There's like the jumbo screw and bolt, and then the metal thing holding the tire there came off, and the actual tire came off. So I slow up when I realized the bolts came off, and possibly that metal thing, and was kind of bouncing around underneath our vehicle. Then the tire comes off and is bouncing right in front of me, going down the Conejo grade. Bounce over. This is unbelievable. This had to be a miracle. Bounces over the center divider going down the Conejo grade. And the whole time, my daughter and I, everybody's slowing up, everybody's just caution going down the grade. We have our eyes fixed on that tire, and I'm praying under my breath. You never believe this tire, as it's going down the grade, you know it's picking up speed. It jumps the center divider. All of a sudden, it just kind of swerves a little and slows up and just tips over and falls in the middle side part of the center. Didn't hit no car, nothing. We watched the sequence of events, and we knew how fast it was going. For it to come to a slow stop like that and just kind of tip over on its side, like, how can that happen? There really wasn't an explanation. I always think of that as like a little miracle. Somebody had a miracle that day. I think for me, because I would have felt terrible to see that tire, hit a windshield or, create a problem. And then, of course, the miracle for us, the bottom of our van after those metal pieces were bouncing all around under there, nothing happened to our van. So there was that. Then, the same daughter, a year or two later, we're in downtown, driving around. It's a four-way stop. I'm getting ready to turn right. It's our turn to go. We're going to turn right, and then we're going to drive a few hundred feet and turn left and go to this shopping center. As we get ready to turn right, some kids leaving the shopping center as if they had just robbed the bank and were trying to make a getaway, come rip-roaring out of the driveway onto the street that I just turned on. They had to have been flooring the vehicle. The sound was crazy. The wheels were turning. Smoke was everywhere. Really as if they had just robbed the bank and they were making their getaway. So when they got out of the driveway onto the street, the back wheels were swirling so crazy. They were just flipping the steering wheel and the car was swerving back and forth. I don't know how they didn't hit us. Total miracle. And as they were swerving back and forth, it caught me so quick and off guard as I turned into that street. I just remember turning the wheel real quick to try to get to the far side of the street to the curb. I don't know how we didn't get hit. My dog, it just didn't seem physically possible. They were too close to us, going too fast for us to get out of their way. But we did. And my daughter looked at me, I looked at her, and this was the same daughter who was with me going down the grade with that debacle. So we just sat there and couldn't believe it. However, so those two stories, my daughter and I both have those in clear recollection of when we talk about it. So I don't know why that may have happened, but perhaps maybe sometime in her life there might be something going on with her and she's going to need to look back and say, oh, maybe it was a miracle. Maybe there is such a thing. So I just know what happened, what we saw, and that's all I know. And I would never think to make up a story. And then there's my husband. Right? Like, I've always wondered, you know, some people are married, some people are not married, divorced, not divorced. Poor people, rich people. And I've always thought, especially after I got married and had kids, like how is it, why is it, or what is it that it's them and not me? Couldn't that have as easily been my life as their life? I've just always have thought of that. And it wasn't until after I married my husband, when I think of how perfect of the man he was for me, I can kind of like categorize it in the miracle department, simply because, like, what are the odds? And when I think of, like, when did the trouble come, or when did the fighting happen, or when did I become a disgruntled wife? And it was more so when we had kids. It had nothing to do with my husband. It just had to do with, okay, I'm down a different path now, and stuff that was fun and cute and okay when you and I were by ourselves. Now, as we're raising our girls, we have to set a better example. It's not that we were doing anything deadly or dangerous. It just, like I said, a different focus, different path. Well, you know how people today say, oh, that's a deal breaker, that's a deal breaker. That, like, wasn't even a thought. It's like the keeper of the stars knew every fear I may have had and made sure that everything was covered. He'd been married before. I knew his ex-wife. I knew his kids, who were very small at the time. Because odds are, if I had just met somebody new in my life, and they were married and divorced with kids, I would have been very hesitant, because just divorce wasn't a thing for us. I remember I grew up Catholic, and it was just a big deal. But here he was, married, divorced, with kids, and a history and a past, and 20-some years older than myself. But he was really, like, perfect. No deal breakers. No weird friends. Probably the biggest question I had about him was, how in the world did you marry her? His ex-wife, like I said, I had known her. But he just summed it up as they had both wanted kids, and, whether that's the truth or not the truth, it didn't impinge my decision, like when we came to be married. Everything I had wanted in the back of my mind, I knew that if I was going to get married at that time, whoever I married was going to be a good husband and a good provider for a family. I knew that much about him. And I knew for myself, I wanted to be independent, supporting myself, so that when the time came for marriage, the person I married would know I'm not marrying them for them to support me or take care of me, because it would be clear that I could do that myself. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't marrying them for them to take care of me. So that happened. And so when we got married, my parents pitched a fit. They completely disowned me because he was so much older than myself, where normally that would have crumbled my life. But like 4 or 5 times, I remember my mom on the phone just threatening me, and it was really spooky. But I had like this, this spirit of protection, or how something would roll, the saying, don't let it bother you like water on a duck's back. Like, boom, something came and took it all away. And so what today, 40 years later, when I look back at that, how so many things, where we wanted to live, the cars we bought, our house, so many things were just so perfect. It was like a given understanding of so many things. Unbelievable. Simply because today so many newlyweds don't have that. And I don't know why that is. How I was happy with every single turn our relationship took. And I didn't know you were supposed to have a fancy memorial event when the guy proposed to you. So when that happened with my husband, and it wasn't a fancy event when he proposed to me, it was still fun and happy. I was happy, he was happy. And it's all these decades later I find out that, do people plan and really make an event of how they proposed to the girl? It was just, I didn't know that. I was going through my whole young life. I didn't know that. But then my friends and my peers, and I didn't have a ton of buddy friends my age. Most of my friends were older, so maybe that's why. And so that's why the longer I live, the more I categorize just meeting my husband is somewhat as a miracle because it was so perfect. How did everything I wanted and needed and didn't even know it was something I wanted and needed was what he was, and how it came so easy into my life. And I've told you this before, and I'm not exaggerating, that as a young person, I saw this. I don't know how much of it was because you idolize your parents, and how much is it because you know what kind of good-looking guy you want. But the vision I had of my home and the guy I married was the exact same guy I actually did marry. So what was that? Was that a gift from the Keeper of the Stars to let me see my future? Or do you think something so true for so long it can't help but happen? So there's that to think about. But as a young person, I knew I was going to live in the same kind of house that my parents lived in. This was in grammar school. My husband was going to have dark hair and dark features. He was going to be tall, dark, and handsome. And as I seen him in my mind's eye, he was walking towards me with light pants and a light long-sleeve shirt, bigger than beans. If when I get married, if indeed was in our house just exactly like my parents' house, because it was. He lived right next door to my parents in the mid-70s. Exact same housing tract, exact same house. So that really came true. And my husband is a tall, dark, handsome, type-looking guy. And indeed, in his closet, he had a light pair of jeans and a light kind of Western long sleeve shirt. So what's that? Again, it brings me back to a miracle someone had for me in my life. And let me have a little glimpse. I did not have to work hard to find him and marry him. He was living right next door since 1976, and then we got married in 1982. And I don't tell you all that to brag or boast. It's just stuff. And in the midst of this weekend was just an icky, awful weekend, thinking about this biggest storm in history. It's going to hit Florida or going to hit somewhere, and a possible nuke, and to where you're stuck. These terrible things are coming your way and you're stuck. And it's those times that lead me to throw up my hands and try not to be a hypocrite, and try to remember that I do have a bit of a faith-based life. And so what am I doing freaking out? And then a look at how miracles have popped up, which I believe are miracles that have popped up in my life in the past. Yeah, that's what I'm going to have to depend on, because there's too many things happening now. It's so much out of our control. I still I kind of left us all hanging, when I did the Queen video. And at the beginning of the video, I mentioned how I've seen similarities of her life at a young person at age 21, and how she, at a young age, she set the path for her life. And the same thing kind of happened to me. But I would like to do a video on that, because there's a lot of similarities. And so what does that mean? Like, it's just things that are interesting that just pop up and makes you go, huh? And if anything, I would hope that, when I talk about stuff, that it would give you energy to maybe look inward at your own life. Start your own YouTube channel, make it private, and just make like a diary of things that went by in your life that, nobody you thought would be interested in, or there was no opportunity to talk about. Because believe me, if something happens to us, everybody's going to want to know everything about us after the fact, right? But it's not that my life is more exciting or more, fun-filled than yours. It's just that we don't have a moment or chance or opportunity to see or hear something, and it'll jog our memory to, oh my goodness, remember that time when? So that's why I like to talk about the National Day calendar. Like, if you just follow the National Day calendar, they've got so many topics, and that's what's fun for me. Whether it's a hot dog, a hamburger, or a pizza, or ice skating, or the inventor of roller skates. 99% of the time, there's something fun and good, something that happened in my life that I can share. And I know you're the same way. So don't forget about nationaldaycalendar.com. And what else? There's a couple other things that are fun, that jog my memory. Or a recipe from Grandma, which brings back fun memories of you and Grandma. Or a food item or a drink item. So many things. And don't ever think that people are not interested in your story. I think we're just at a disadvantage now. The world is so fast, and we're overloaded. Do you know when we watch a HD TV or whatever those TVs are now, hard drive, not a hard drive, high depth, the pixels or the color dots or the energy coming out from that high depth TV screen is overwhelming our brain, versus the television screen from the 60s, 70s, or 80s prior to the high depth was less. I know I'm not using the correct words. I'm just going to call them pixels. So our eyes and our brain would see an image, but it wasn't overpowering our brain like today. So we just have to be careful. And if we feel exhausted, we probably really are exhausted if we're watching a high-depth television screen all day, on our computers all day. Maybe that's why I like older shows more and feel it's more relaxing, because the quality of the picture is less invasive on our brain, and it really is more relaxing. Like King of Queens, Seinfeld, Golden Girls, I Love Lucy, That Girl. Love those shows, and they are relaxing for me. Maybe that's why.